Yo everybody, we're back with another video today, and I'm going to be trying to teach you all how to become the best at ODM gear in Attack on Titan Revolution. And so when I make this video, this is going to be me trying to teach someone, let's say, starting out all the way up to someone at the highest skill level. So no matter who you are or where you are, I hope you can find some kind of use in this video. Now, a little warning, this video is going to have a lot of information, and so I put some little chapters on each different type of step, you could call it. I hope that as you learn these steps, you can come back to the video and try and learn the next one. And so, this video is going to be a one-stop shop for everybody. And so, let me just get some things out of the way. When I talk about becoming the best at ODM, a good way to measure this is the amount of time it takes for you to clear a mission. And obviously, we're not allowed things that are overpowered, like shifting, because that wouldn't be ODM gear, or let's say overslash, because it just kills for you. And as we're taking stuff out, we're always going to have skills turned off. Let's say the Fritz skill that just kills 9 Titans for you, that's not going to be skillful, and so we're not going to consider any of those factors. And so, for the purposes of training, we are always going to have the modifiers no skills and no talents turned on. And when it comes to terms of practicing, we're going to use the outskirts map because it's the most open. And now, before we get into any techniques or anything, I'm just going to go over the build that we might want to have. I will say, a build is not mandatory for being good at the game. But I'll be honest, if you have higher stats, then you'll be able to get lower times than people with lower stats. And so of course we're going to want our equipment maxed out, but then the next thing that's going to be most important for us is artifacts. When it comes to artifacts, just try and use the highest rarity one that you can. Obviously at this point in the game I can use Scars and Scarf, which will be both mythic. And what we're looking for on these is the substats that you can roll. You can roll things like damage, speed, control, gas, anything like that. And just to keep in mind that the second substat is a lot harder to roll. And so you should never lock something until you get a good second substat. You're going to get a lot of times you get a really good first substat, but it's not worth it to lock because you'll be using up so much more money. And then the stats that we're going to look for in order is going to be ODM speed, ODM control, and then ODM damage. Now, I have a different artifact for each of these type of builds because let's say if I do supremacy, I'm going to want damage on every single artifact I have. And then if I'm playing just a normal mission, I'll have a combination of ODM speed and control. And for reference, usually what I'll use is 362 speed all the way up to 388. That's where I find comfortable, but it did take me a while of playing the game until I was used to being able to go this fast. And then with this amount of speed, I'll have control on the rest of the artifacts, and I'm around 170 or less control. Also, when you're doing your build, make sure that you remember that your family is going to adjust the numbers you have. And so, for you guys starting out, I recommend anything above 300 speed. Once you start to get the hang of the game a little bit, I would recommend upping it to 330 or more. And then you guys might not know what control or anything does, and most people don't, and honestly, there's no exact definition of what ODM control does, but with my experimentation, I'll explain it the best way I can. So the more ODM control you have, it will decrease the amount of time needed to reach maximum speed. So basically just giving you more acceleration. And then of course you cannot accelerate past your maximum speed. And so let's say you have a max control build. If you click space, you will instantly be at max speed. But if you have a little bit of control, you click space and it'll take a good second or two before you reach max speed. And then it also adjusts how fast you accelerate going left, right, up, down, any of the maneuvering that you do. And so it's going to make your entire gameplay feel a lot sharper and more responsive with the more control you have. And so I would recommend you guys get a lot of control just to feel this. And then when it comes to ODM speed, it might be pretty obvious, but it just ups your maximum speed that you can be traveling forward. And this is something I'm not fully sure on, but I'm pretty sure your ODM speed also increases the distance of your boosts, like your side flip or your mega boost, or I'm going to call it a boost dash from now on. And then if we just think about it practically, if we don't have much ODM control and we're really close to a Titan, we won't be able to build up enough speed to actually kill the Titan, let's say if our damage is low. And so if you have max control, then you'll be able to do max damage with very little runway. And so that's why I recommend just using ODM control as you're starting out on most of your artifacts. Now that that's done, let's get into the perks that we might use. And as I said before, we're going to want higher stats, and so the ones that I would recommend is Tatsujin if we can use it. This is going to up our control, speed, gas, range, everything that we're going to need as an ODM player. But let's say you don't have this one yet. If you have Gear Master, this will also work. It ups your speed and control. And then what I like to do is in my core slot, I use Sixth Sense, and so I can see all the Titans are on the map and just get a better sense of their hitbox. And then when it comes to offense, if we've got Kengo, that helps a lot because it ups our damage and gives us multi-hits. And then Black Flash gives us more kill options. Oh yeah, and one last thing before I forget, the Scarf is actually going to be super useful for us because it actually ups the hook speed for us, which will help a lot and make us do more precise movements. Also, your skill tree doesn't matter too much, as you level up, you're going to have more and more skill points, and then eventually you'll max it all out. The main thing I'll say is that max out the damage part in your skill tree, and then go for your Nape Assist if you can, and then probably go for a little bit of defense. I like the side of the defense tree where it gives you adrenaline, because then if you can take 2 hits without getting injuries. But all you need to take away from the skill tree is that damage is all you need. When it comes to raid builds and everything, this is not going to be the exact same case, but we don't worry about that right now. We're only worried about missions. And for this first big section of the video, this is going to be the build I'm using. I didn't want to use super good mythic perks and make it seem like I'm getting carried by them or anything, so I'm using Gear Master, Unparalleled Strength, Sixth Sense, and then the defense slot doesn't really matter towards doing missions. Also for this video, I will be using a common family. The only thing I'm still going to be using is my artifacts, as artifacts are pretty easy to get, and these are just the only ones I have on hand. And as I said before, artifacts are probably going to be the most important thing after doing your base upgrades. Alright, and finally onto the gameplay. First, I'm going to go over the basics of the movement that we can do. If we are hooked at any point, we can move up, down, left, or right with our WASD keys. And then if we hit space, we can boost forward, making us go faster. One small note here is that if we are holding W, let's say, and then we start hooking, then the W input will need to be repressed. That would be a really nice quality of life change if they made it so we're holding W and we hook, then it will just take the W input, but that's not currently in the game. This can lead to some people feeling like their inputs aren't being pressed, and so it's just something to take note of. And then all the things I'm going to be going over is, first of all, the side flip is going to be super important. It's just clicking A or D twice, and so it flips you to the side like this. These ones are a lot better than back flips, because back flips you have to let the entire animation play, but a side flip you can actually cancel with your hook at any point. And then the next thing, I'm going to be referring to this as a boost dash, where you click spacebar twice, and you can dash forward really quick. The only special thing about this one I would want to say is that you can actually curve it as you click it, which can really lead to some really cool kind of kills you can do, and some really good recovery options. But you don't have to worry about any of that yet, I just want to put it in your head. Alright, and finally, this is going to be step 1. This is going to be how I would want everyone to start out playing the game, because it's really important that you start with a really solid foundation. If you try and mimic exactly how I play right away, then it's going to lead to some mistakes, and it's just not going to work out as well, because you won't understand it all yet. Also, this part is going to be a bit of a yap sesh, but I want everyone to keep in mind that changing your current playstyle will feel awkward. Some people will just stay comfy with what they know, and I want you all to realize that change has to be uncomfortable. The only way to grow is to change, and the only way to change is by getting out of your comfort zone. And I just want everyone to remember that starting out at something new and different, you aren't going to be good at it. You need to practice, and then you'll start to see the results. And with skills like these, you just need to trust that practice and muscle memory is going to be exactly what you need. And also, don't stress about it. Just have fun while playing the game. Alright, and then truly into step 1 now, I promise. The first thing that we're going to want to remember is the side flip I went over earlier. After every single kill, the main part of this step is that you are going to need to side flip. I mean every single kill. And now, our goal for this, the way that we're going to be able to complete step 1, is that we shouldn't touch the floor a single time. And I just want you to remember, do not take this too fast. Just go as slow as you can. Anytime you feel uncomfortable, just side flip. It'll help you out. And then when it comes to step 1, I don't want to overload you with too much stuff, and so you can kill Titans any way you like. And when it comes to practicing, I would recommend practicing any of these steps in easy mode or anything that you can do things slower without needing the boost to kill. And so as you see here, I'm just going around slowly. This is what we call a big orbit. It's not something we'll use in the future, but for right now, I want you to use this just to get the side flips into your head. And then, this is also very important for step 1, is after every side flip, you're going to try and aim to hook onto the next Titan. Whether you use Nape Assist or not is fully preference, but I will recommend that you have Nape Assist on. While I'm in the area, I'll also recommend to have Hook Assist on, as then we will know when our Nape Assist is activated. These are both things I still use and I still recommend to everyone. With the Nape Assist, we'll be super consistent with our hooks, and as long as we're floating in the air like you see here, then we can see exactly when it activates, and then we can go around for our kill. And you know I love my side notes. As I'm in the area with Nape Assist, There are some positions that if you're looking at a Titan like from the exact side of a Titan, Nape Assist will not activate. You just need to learn this as you play. Alright, so with this playstyle we know we're going to be not touching the floor, we're going to be side flipping after every kill, and we're going to be taking our time to aim at each Titan. And if we can, we'll get the Nape Assist to proc. That would be ideal, but it's not needed. And really quick about Nape Assist. Nape Assist is fully preference, as I said, but you should aim for your own style. If you don't like the way it feels, then you should use whatever you like. And the same goes with builds or sensitivity or anything. You should use any kind of style that you feel comfortable with. But when it comes to Nape Assist, I do feel like if you reach the very peak of the game, then Nape Assist is going to be needed to be able to go farther. Once you're moving at such a high speed, you won't actually have time to be able to aim and move perfectly, and if you do try and move perfectly, you'll actually be losing too much speed. And so that's why I have Nape Assist on, just so I can become the fastest player possible. And then Hook Assist doesn't matter too much, but I just like to know where my hooks are going, and also if I'm trying to do a really quick movement from one Titan and then hooking straight forward and like within a fraction of a second, then without Hook Assist, I'll have to aim at the floor because I can't just aim straight forward. But with Hook Assist, I'm able to aim anywhere straight forward. It'll bring me there, and it just saves me a lot of time. The next thing I want to cover is that we don't want to use both of our hooks at the same time. Because each hook has a cooldown to being able to be pressed again, we'll have more options if we just use one at a time, so then our cooldown basically is non-existent. And you don't lose any speed or anything like that by using one hook, it's just giving us less cooldowns. Also, we have more freedom for our hand to do certain maneuvers if we aren't holding down two hooks at once. And this is something that it's pretty hard to explain, but if I'm hooking with my left side, then I'll be able to maneuver around the right side easier. And then the inverse is true. If I'm hooking with the right, I'll be able to maneuver around the left side just because which fingers I have available. This isn't really something I've ever taken note of or watched myself do. It's kind of just intuitive, but in case it helps you guys, try and think about that. Alright, and so step one, once we can not touch the ground a single time, and in an easy mission, we are going to hook onto the Titan, go around, kill it, side flip, and then slowly track the next Titan. Make sure you really get it, you don't want to miss. You kill it, and you go through the entire mission, then that's step one completed. And I would still recommend staying in easy, but here comes step two. And now for step two, we're going to be adding in what's known as a tight orbit. All the knowledge you'll need to know about this is that it's basically a normal orbit, but we try and stay as tight as we can just to reach the nape faster. There's nothing special about it, there's no hidden tricks, it's just reaching the nape as quick as we can. And so when we talk about the quickest path to their nape, we aren't going to want to go through their arm, we aren't going to want to go over their head, we're just going to go over their shoulder, so right in the middle of their head and their shoulder. You see, like this, we aren't likely to hit their arm as we're slicing by, nor are we likely to bump into their head. And there's no specific angle that you need for this, but as long as you're above their shoulder, or above their arm so that you won't hit it, then you can just go straight around and you'll be fine. And so to do this, if we are, let's say, equal to their eye level, we're just going to hold W and A, or W and D, just to fly up and around. And then once we get close enough, we can just let go of the keys and go straight into their nape. And now a little side note for controller players is you guys can't actually move in diagonals, according to what I know. And so you can't do the exact same orbit that we can, but you guys can do it in two different steps where you just move up slowly and then move all the way to the side. Or if you're already above the Titan, then you don't even need to move up at all. And now that's something I actually want to go a little bit deeper on, is a pitfall some people reach is that they think they need to hold W and need to hold A for every single tight orbit they do. If you're already above the Titan, you don't need to go any higher. And if you're already pretty close to the side of a Titan, then you don't need to go out further. This is all just to get to a good spot that we can stop maneuvering keys and head straight into their nape. Also, you'll probably start to notice that Nape Assist makes this a lot easier, because without Nape Assist, we're going to need to be holding A for much more to be able to curve around their body fully, but without it, we already hooked directly onto their nape, meaning we can go in a straighter path. Also, with this straighter path, we need less maneuvering and less inputs, and so it's a lot easier. And yeah, I'll try and showcase this as best as I can, that I will let go of every single maneuvering key right as I get to a good spot. This is something that a lot of people tend to mess up on, is that they maneuver too much and then it makes them go past the nape or too far out. We need to stay tight. And so right as we get to a good spot, then we're just going to let go of everything and go straight in. And just remember that all your speed going forward and up is going to be kept. It's not like you lose it straight away. And so that's part of how this works, that we let go early and then our carried on speed will bring us around. Also, when it comes to this, your speed is going to change where you need to let go of your maneuvering keys because of how fast you'll get to the nape. And so no matter what, I can't give you a concrete position to stop clicking keys at because every speed is going to be different. And so it just comes down to practice. Try out different spots that you can let go of your maneuvering keys and see which one brings you the tightest in. And don't go too tight that you're missing sometimes and hitting their face. Go good enough that you'll be pretty far away from the Titan. You know, our blades and the nape hitbox both extend out pretty far, and so you don't need to actually be touching the Titan at all. And then as you practice this and get better at it, then you can start incorporating boost if you haven't already. The boost is going to up your speed, and so it's going to be a little bit less time to think, but you just want to trust in your muscle memory, and then eventually you'll be able to kill them pretty consistently. And just to retread the tracks, after every single tight orbit, we are going to side flip, we are going to slowly aim, and let's say you're getting too low and you don't have time to aim, just side flip again. You have plenty of time to aim, so don't freak out. But for this next step, step 3, we are going to take these skills into Abberrant. With Abberrant, the Titans are going to grab faster, they'll move faster, and they'll have more health. Basically, all of their stats are going to be increased. And this will be a good spot that if we are able to do this consistently, this tight orbit, side flip on every kill, we should be able to get around 3 minutes or less times on a no talents, no skills mission. And this is speaking purely in Abberrant. If we can't get there, you need to think about what you're doing wrong. Are you missing too many times? Are you side flipping too many times? Are you missing your hooks, let's say? Each one of these things, all you need to do is just go take it really slow again, back in easy, and practice and practice. Also, let's say Abberrant is too big of a jump for you right now. Then you can just go into normal mode and then into hard mode. Just take it at your own pace. Everyone grows at their own pace, and so don't look at others to see what they're doing. Just focus on yourself and focus on where you started from. And I promise you can move as slow as you like, and as long as you're consistent, you will get low times. This is something I cannot stress enough. All you need to do is take it slow. Remember to aim super precise. Do not rush the aiming at all. Go in for a kill, side flip, and then do not rush any process. And so, when it comes to step 3, all we're going to be doing is upping the speed of everything that we've been doing before. And this is where I'm going to say, this is the basic playstyle I would want anyone to be able to do. Because if you're able to do this, you'll be able to do almost any mod pretty easily with just a little bit of practice. This is going to be the perfect foundation for you. And so the main part of this step is that as we're killing a Titan, we're going to want to start to think about which Titan we want to kill next. And so as I'm looking at this Titan, in the back of my mind, I know that I'm going to go after this Titan on the side next. And so as I go through my tight orbit, I'll be mentally prepared to go aim at the next one, which will just cut down on the aiming time a little bit. And then I'm going to try and explain pathing a little bit here. We're going to want to go towards the closest Titan after every single kill. That's just the main idea. We also want to avoid any big areas without Titans. If we're flying through that, then we're just going to waste 5 seconds of our time. And so I'll show on the screen some typical paths that we'll take. Because usually there's a big spot on the right side of the map with no Titans. And so if we start at the right corner and make our way up the left, kill the middle, and at the top right, then we'll have killed every Titan without going through that dead zone. But sometimes there are Titans there, and so we can just go to whatever side we spawn closest to. And you don't have to take any of this too seriously. You can just go towards whatever's closest and worry about that for right now. Also, one thing I want to say is that you should make a pathing choice and commit to it. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, you can think about that later. But if you sit there thinking about it for too long, then it will ruin the idea. Also, something I'll note is that if there is a close Titan and then there's also a Titan in the corner, we should usually go after the corner first, just so then we can go straight along our path. If we're going to have to go away from that corner Titan and then come back to it, then that's even more time we'll spend backtracking, which means we're just wasting that much more time. And so, go for the closest Titan. If there's a Titan in the corner, go for that one. And then by the end of this step, you'll be able to think about next Titans. You don't have to act on the thinking, you just have to know that they're there. And so then you'll side flip, right as your nape assist procs, then you can go in for the kill, side flip again, and that should be the clear for step 3. I hope you can see at this point that each step we're only trying to add 1 to 1.5 ideas at a time, just because it's best for you to learn something one at a time. That's why it's sectioned out like this. We want to learn every single step, very small, and practice it, and then once we are good at it, then we can add something new. This is also a good life lesson. If you're ever trying to practice anything in real life, just take it one step at a time. And then once you're able to do it in the back of your mind without thinking about it too hard, then that means you can start working on the next thing. This next step is going to be how to deal with small titans, as they might be causing you some issues now. When it comes to small titans, it could be hard to measure out the distance or maneuver in time to be able to kill them, because it is such a small area for you to hit. And so there are 3 things that we can do to make this easier. The first one is an overhead technique, which is pretty hard and inconsistent, but it does have its uses, and I'll go over that. The second thing we can do is called maneuvering early, and I will recommend this to everybody, and we'll go over that in a second. But the third one is to use a side flip to kill the titan. So the first one is overheads. It's basically just going directly over the head of a titan. The higher we are, makes it a bit of an easier angle to get. And then if we are super fast, it sometimes makes it hard to reach down in time. There's no real way I can explain it. I can only really show overhead kills, but as long as you're above the head and then you dive down towards their nape, that's what an overhead's good for. And it's really good to kill nightmare titans that have their shoulders high up. Because their shoulders are so high up, we're not going to be able to do a tight orbit without hitting their arm. And so an overhead will kill them a lot easier. The next one that I said I really want you guys to use is maneuvering early. Alright, and I currently don't have any gameplay for early maneuvering, but I do have this picture, and so it shows that if you're really close to a titan and then you decide to maneuver with WAS or D, then you're going to have way less time to react, or it's going to lead to a lot more human errors. But if we just do it earlier on, then we'll have way more prep time, and so it's so much more consistent to actually get the kills. And then the last one, using a side flip to kill the titan, is pretty self-explanatory. Let's say that you aren't confident in killing small titans, just fly right past it and then side flip towards the nape and then slice as you're killing it. This is actually something I've been using a lot lately, and so I'm going to recommend all of you guys to try it. It's also pretty good on titans that aren't necessarily small. It can be used on any single titan you like. And so when it comes to these techniques, I would recommend just knowing it and slowly trying them out as you do your runs. Every time you see a small titan, just go for a little practice on it. But these aren't things we should spend a lot of time practicing. And I just want to be honest about this. This is not stuff I have full mastery over either. Like the overhead, I still mess up at times. Maneuvering early, I can't always do because I wouldn't have thought about it in time, or I'm too close to a titan. All you gotta know is that just go for it when you see an opportunity to do it. Alright, on to step 5, we're going to go over some recovery options that you can do in order to keep a better kill flow going. The first thing is the boost dash that we talked about earlier. So we can curve this boost dash in any direction we like for a short duration, and if we ever miss or hit the ground on accident, if we didn't side flip yet, then we can quickly boost dash and straight into the titan. Now of course we can use a side flip to do this as well, as I talked about earlier, but let's just say it's a different position that wouldn't work, like a crawler or something. And then this one isn't too much of a recovery option, but it does fit in with kill flow, is that we should start thinking about which direction we are aiming our side flips. We already know a side flip is going to bring us to the left or the right of our camera. And so if we just turn the camera as we're killing, then we can flip in the direction we want. So let's say there's a titan super far away from us and it's on our right. So if we just aim our camera straight forward and then flip to the right, then we'll be able to go straight towards that titan without having to go in a longer path. The shortest line to a titan is going to be the quickest. And then let's say there's titans really close to us, we can flip behind the titan just to give an easier line into their nape. Or if there's a crawler below us, we can flip right behind it so then it's stuck turning around. Because sometimes crawlers get a little bit annoying when they're constantly running after you. And so if you can get them turning around, then you have more time to act. And then also when we side flip in this direction, we're going to want to be hooking right away just so we keep our speed that we get from the side flip. And speaking of side flips, in this step we are going to want to practice canceling our side flips. I talked about this earlier, but when you side flip, you can actually cancel the flip animation as long as it's a side flip with a hook. The thing is, it's so far along in the steps because you are going to need really good muscle memory and really good awareness of titans to be able to start going this fast and canceling these hooks faster. And then as we're going this fast, you're going to notice that your swing duration is not keeping up with how fast you can side flip and hook. And so to get around this, if we start swinging earlier on titans to kill them on the later half of our swing duration, then we'll actually be able to swing earlier for the next kill. This is something I would recommend to everyone. A really good habit is killing most titans with a really early swing, because then it leaves us with a lot more options later on. But it would be the last thing I recommend practicing in this step because of how hard it is. But some people do this really naturally. Maybe it's just hard for me. And so then, at the very end of this step, if we do it right, then we'll be able to kill crowds with relative ease. We'll kill the first titan with a really quick swing, side flip, and then cancel the side flip and be able to kill again immediately. And this is going to be something super important. I actually didn't think I was going to put this in the video, but I decided to. This is actually kind of a bug that every single person uses, but I'm going to name it here just because I want everyone to be on the exact same playing field as I am. So, your normal side flip cooldown is going to look like this. And forgive me for the scuffed setup. I didn't plan on showing this, but I'm just going to show the video I made to showcase this bug a while back. So, our normal side flip cooldown is super long. But if we cancel a side flip with a hook like I talked about in this step, then our side flip cooldown is essentially cut in half until we do some kind of movement to cancel this effect. And so if we're doing a mission, I'm going to want you guys to stay in this state the entire time, or as long as we can, basically. And you might be thinking, what cancels it? Well, stuff like a boost dash, or I'm sure there's other things like getting hit or maybe touching the ground or something like that will probably cancel this effect of quick side flips. I don't know everything, I just know the main thing is that a boost dash will. And so you need to be super careful with a boost dash, because if you use it and then you go in for another kill and try to side flip, your cooldown is going to be the long one again. You will not be in this quickened state anymore, and so you will likely feel like your side flip didn't come out. But this is just because you reset back to the normal side flip cooldown. This might be a little bit weird to understand, and I probably seem like a crazy person, but just remember, cancel your side flips with a hook to get quicker side flips, and then it gets reset if you do something like a boost dash. And now this doesn't mean to not use a boost dash, I just mean to be wary of it. There are times I'll use a boost dash because I know there's no titans nearby. And then by the time I get to the next titan, I'll side flip and cancel it again so that I'm back in that quick state. Now, I don't know if this is a feature or a bug. I'm assuming it's a bug, and I hope they fix it, but I hope they fix it in the way that you don't have slow side flips still. But we're just gonna have to pray. It's up to the devs at this point. Okay, so this is step 6, and everything from now on is going to be advanced techniques. And right now there's only 2, and I'm gonna have videos on them uploaded later, but the 2 that I'm mentioning are multi-kill techniques and momentum. If you do all of these right, you should save around 20 to 30 seconds, let's say, on your standard run. And so you can see how powerful they can get. But the thing is, they are much harder to master, and no matter what, we need a good base of everything we've learned so far. So if you skip to this step, just learning to hope something super good, then just keep in mind, you're gonna stumble, because if you don't have a good base, you will not be able to do these right. And now, I already have a plan to upload these videos, and so I'm not going to cover too much on them, but a multi-kill is just getting multiple kills in one swing, and then momentum is going in a straight line from titan to titan with no flips and always hooking, essentially, so we don't lose our speed. And now, this will be a good time to mention something that I also want to mention, is that if we have our hook down for more of the run than we don't, then it'll be a faster run, because that's the fastest we can be moving with our boost and a hook down. And so as we're moving around, if you can click one hook and then click your second hook before removing the first one and then remove the first one, you'll have 100% uptime of a hook being placed. And so that's the main thing I want you to take away from this step. And then if you see a multi-kill opportunity, maybe to hook and kill 2 or use a side flip to kill 2 or anything like that, you can start going for them. And then momentum, I'll have a video on, but I did explain what it is. It's a lot simpler than it might seem, but it is very hard to master, and that's why it needs its own video. Alright, and one last advanced technique for you guys. This one is sometimes paired with momentum, but you can actually use it without. It's called pre-aiming, and you'll see me using it a lot in most of my runs, where you basically are hooked onto one titan, and then before you even get to that titan, you're going to aim at the next one and be ready for it. And this doesn't have to be used with momentum. You can be ready for a side flip and still pre-aim at a titan and either track it as you flip, or you can aim down and below it knowing that your flip is going to bring it into your crosshair. Alright, so all of that wraps up this video. I know the last step didn't really cover too much, but that's just because it has its own videos coming out about it, and it's going to take a while to explain each one, and I have a lot to say on them. And I want you to keep in mind that no matter what, you should try and develop your own style. If you try and copy someone else, then it might feel a little bit weird. Just go with what works for you. Some people like to play with the hooks on their mouse buttons. I personally still use all default controls while playing on keyboard. I did try out using side buttons on my mouse, but it just hurt my thumb too much, so I decided not to. I really hope this video helped you guys. I tried to explain it in the best way I can, and I'm going to try and edit it in the most understandable way I can, but I'm not the greatest editor, so forgive me for that. And then if you have any questions, or maybe if you want to document your progress and talk to some other people who are trying to get better at the game, you can come into the Arcane Discord that I'll have linked in the description. This regimen is all about improving your ODM skill and being as best as you can and learning to grow. Alright, that's all for me. Take care, everybody.